Hi YouTube, how you doing? Facebook, how are you? Instagram, how are you? I got all of you here. Amazing. My name is Corinne Clapham, intuitive wellness coach and psych reader. I wanted to come and connect with you. Today is Wednesday. It is midweek. How are you all doing? Put it in the comments below. I know the past week has been quite crazy with what was going on globally and continues to go on. I was actually driving back home very, very early this morning, and it was really interesting because a lot of situations that I was going through on the road were technologies and what is going on in general. So I wanted to share that with you. And there was one point where I was driving on the highway, and it was a part where um, I was driving kind of straight, and the roads were going a little curvy, but another highway was underneath. Like there was a lot going on, a lot of different roads and highways going different directions. And there was a moment where it looked confusing. It was confusing because I didn't know where I was going because I was seeing everything else that was going on and I didn't know which direction was which and this and that. And the thing is, it can be very easy for us to lose track of what our path is, especially with so much external noise going on in the world and with social media. And even on social media, a lot of external noise and a lot of polarizations. And so, if we're not really grounded and balanced, it can be very easy to almost lose track of where we are and which direction we're going because we just see so much traffic and things going on in different directions that it can really throw you off. And when that happened, I just had to remind myself, like, keep focused. The only thing you need to look at is right ahead of you. It's the only thing you need to look at. And once you do that, it really makes a huge difference and it puts you more at ease. You get more focused and more clarity by doing that. And sometimes we get so overwhelmed because we're wanting to look at the end, um, that we forget to actually just take it moment by moment and be in the present moment and focus what's in front of us, and then it's all at ease. And on my drive, I saw a rainbow, which was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I was continuing on, and I actually ended up driving through a couple of storms, like really rainy weather. And there was one point where I could barely even see. You had your windshield wipers going as fast as possible. The rain was coming down so hard and so big that you could barely see. There was some trucks on the road. There was other cars, and the car in front of me didn't have the person didn't put their lights on. So it was interesting because I was behind, obviously not so close. You want to give space, especially in weather like that. But I was like, oh, I wish they had their lights on because I was almost like you needed a person ahead to kind of show where the lanes were, the direction that you were going, because it was so rainy. You could not really see what was in front of you except for this close, and you could barely see the lines of the lanes anymore. And I thought it was very interesting because quite often we can follow people who are leading the way in the dark, and we can follow people who are leading the way with light. And that's how I took that situation and that analogy. Or that's what came up for me, actually, is what I should say, when I was going through that. And then I was like, oh, I hope someone comes in front with their light on. Surely enough, it did. And it really did help because you could see the light and you just know to kind of follow that. And we always have a choice of what we decide to follow, what we decide to listen to, what belief systems we want to take on, what belief systems we want to heal and take away and clear out. And so we always have that choice. And it's really important to remember that, especially in a world where it's so polarized and everybody's got their opinions, and the opinions have been coming out so much stronger since COVID, since Black Lives Matter. And it's good that people are speaking up, but like I said, there's a flip side to everything, right? And so there can be some other stuff. There's the other dark side, and I don't mean that everything needs to be light and fairy, and we have to ignore what's going on in order to get to the other side of healing and justice and equality and unity. But there's also been a dark side that hasn't really been doing that in the most productive and efficient and healing and amicable way. I have actually been seeing a whole other side on social media, and it's very interesting. And so I hate to say it, but this next 4 minutes, 4 hours. No, not 4 hours. What am I trying to say? 4 years. This next 4 years, even the year that we're in now, 2020, 2024, there's going to be a lot of shifts and changes. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. A lot of things are brewing up to the surface that needs to be healed, that we've been. And actually, I use this analogy. I'm all full of analogies today, but I used this analogy, I think about a week ago, that, we have a strong foundation laid down, but over time, it starts to, if you think about the road, and what I mean by foundation, they lay out nice, smooth roads. And over time, it starts to get weathered. It starts to get, we start to get potholes. I mean, if you live in the city, probably even outside the city, I'm sure you have potholes, and it's crazy. You see the road starting to come up, and over time, it's like the foundation isn't strong anymore. And this is kind of how I've been seeing things going on. Like the foundation hasn't been strong for a very long time, and in a lot of different reasons and things. And so over time, what happens is it starts to loosen up. It starts to get more, like I keep seeing this image of our highways and our roads in Toronto. And surely it's like this in every city, but there's some areas that are really like roughed up, and the potholes, and like it's just coming up. And the thing is, it can get very chaotic when it's during that time, when things are coming up to the surface, and when things are starting to crack and fall apart. And it almost needs to do that in order for a new foundation to be put in, for a new paradigm to be put in. And so if you think about going back to the analogy, if we look at the roads and how over time they end up getting fixed, right? They end up drilling it, they end up taking it apart, they end up loosening it all up, and then they lay down a new foundation. But there's always that little time, and I'm going to say little time, I'm going to hope it's little time for that transition of chaos. But there's always that period of time where it gets a little bit messier than it was before in order to get to the other side. And so when you think about the construction and all that's happening, the upheaval, it's all happening because it needs to, and it's all happening because the old foundation isn't working, and it's moving towards laying down a new foundation. And this is how I see it with all these things that are coming up and that are going to continue to come up in different areas. It's all of it. All of it. We're like, remember the vision that you want, because it is so easy to get lost and to forget what it is that people are fighting for. I don't even know if I really like that word, but what people are wanting to shift and change and to bring in a higher vision for everybody. And I know I had mentioned in the previous analogy, sometimes you need to just look what's right in front of you. Sometimes if we look too far around, it's like it gets really overwhelming. And so we really kind of like, you need to use our discernment when we need to bring that in. There's going to be times we got to bring it back to the present moment. We got to bring it back to just like one step in front of us. And there's other times we got to like look ahead and remember the highest vision. What is the purpose? What is the vision that we want to come alive? What is it that we want to see? What kind of world do we want to be living in? And so it's important to have both, but at different times we're going to need different ones. And there was one point where there was a car that was kind of weaving in and out of the lane. And I was like, God, just pick a lane. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people were saying it during this time too. People, from what I heard, I actually didn't see it. Someone was saying to like stay in your lane, this and that, to other people. But it's okay if we shift in and out of lanes in terms of our thinking, because that's part of growth. And as we continue to tap in with ourselves, we are going to be shifting and changing. And like I said, if you get too wrapped up in the rabbit hole, it gets really overwhelming because you're seeing everybody doing this and that. And you're like, I don't even know where I stand anymore. And so there's going to be times where we're seeing and hearing and thinking things. And then we're going to have to take time to like really sit sit grounded in ourselves and tap into our higher self and see what really resonates and what really is our values and how do we really want to move forward with integrity and be supportive and make change and all these things that is aligned with our own selves, because everybody is different. Everybody is different in how they view things, how they react to things, how they show support is very different. Another analogy I was using the other week is if again, if we look too big in the broader spectrum, it can get really overwhelming. But if you scale it down for a moment and you think about, if you have, say, like four best friends and you're always hanging out together, of course it's an all-inclusive group, and if one friend is going through a really tough time, then everybody else like comes together and supports that friend, right? But even within that, the other four friends are going to show their support in a different way. One might be like wants to reach out and talk on the phone and like see if there's anything you want to talk about and work it out. Or maybe another friend uses humor. Maybe another friend doesn't even know how to say or what to say and doesn't do anything. Maybe another friend does it maybe from a distance, but is sending prayers or setting intentions or blessings, whatever it is, or healing in their own way. So everybody shows up in a different way, and it's really important to honor that and support that, because I've actually been seeing a lot of people shaming people and putting a lot of pressure on, and I personally don't feel that's the way we're going to move forward towards peace. Like, it just won't. Like, energy isn't going to work. And so it's really being honorable towards ourselves and to one another, and sharing information from a loving way, and being able to move forward in that direction. But putting down people and shaming people and putting a lot of pressure on people, that's not, it's not going to serve the person who's doing that. It's not going to serve the other person who's on the other side of that. And so going back to really the crux of the message I wanted to share today is that even if things seem so stormy and so chaotic, remember, always remember, at the other end, there's always sunshine. At the other end, there's always a rainbow. Always, always. Weather is always changing. We're never just in one climate and sun all the time or rain all the time. Like, it is ever changing, and so is our emotions. We can never be stuck in emotion unless we hold ourselves there. But it is, we sometimes feel it. We need to shift through it. We need to like allow it to come up and out, and allow those layers, and allow the healing and the layers of the healing as well. And it's like I always say, even in any of my moon ceremonies or yoga classes or any kind of healing, I've mentioned it before and I'll say it again, that when we do healing on our individual self, it's not just on our individual self. That is healing for your family. Even if you're not living in the same household, the same country, the same city. And I stand by that because I have seen it. I've seen it in my own personal experience and within family, and I've seen it with others. And if you think about it, we are all connected on a grid. So we are connected in consciousness, and that's why a lot of people, or some people more than others, can feel the emotions of so many people around. It's because we are connected in one way or another. And so when we do the healing on ourselves, we do healing on our family that affects our family, and in a positive way. And when we're doing healing, it is also healing for our ancestors, our past lineages, and setting them free. But not only that, setting the generations ahead of us and our future generations for liberation and freedom and healing too. Because when we have done that and we have cleared those energetic ties or cords, or however you want to see it for yourself to understand that, it really is setting and clearing liberation from the past, from our own past, for one thing, but our past family members, our relatives, our lineages, our ancestors, and those who are coming into this world, the future generation, and also on the collective. So the more that people are doing this, the more that people are vibrating a certain frequency, the more that will ripple out on a conscious level as well. And so, just a couple of pointers or food for thought that you can sit with. But my message is, because I know there's times that have been so heavy for people, and there may be heavier times and different things coming up, but just remember that all this is happening to lay a more stronger, smoother, healthier foundation for everyone globally. And so if we can remember that and have that as our highest vision and our purpose, then our path will be a lot clearer in how to get there. And when you feel so stuck and in the dark, just know it is temporary. It is temporary. Everything in life is temporary. So it will never be forever you being in that. So just remember that there will always be a sun on the other side. And know that there's always love and support. There always is out there. So if you're not seeing it, just look somewhere else. And sometimes we need to redirect and change our path if we're on one that's not working. So I wish you guys all the best, and gals, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually really sunny here now. It's funny, we can drive through these crazy storms, and then all of a sudden you can be somewhere and it's like sunshine everywhere. So I hope you all have an amazing day. I love you all so much. Love and peace. See you later, YouTube.